Our agenda for today. I really wanted to kind of share with you guys more information about the 811 program. We're a really, really small program. We tend to get overshadowed by the Section 8 program. People confuse our names because we are unfortunately named very similarly. And so, a lot of people forget all the unique quirks of our program as well. So I really wanted to just kind of do a quick intro about Section 811 and what it is exactly, because some folks might have no idea. So here's our current portfolio and just kind of the numbers that we're working with right now. We currently have about 430 households housed with a lease on our program right now. These are going to be folks that are all across the state of Texas. We do have about 2,243 folks who are actively waiting on wait lists. This means that is a single household that could be waiting on 10 wait lists, maybe just one specific wait list, but that is the total amount of households that we have that are currently waiting on the wait list, waiting for a unit to become available and then reach the top of that wait list. We have the number of properties we have with at least one tenant is about 82. So, I am in constant contact with these folks, trying to fill units with them. So, really awesome number. We would love to up that number. Our goal, I think, for 2023 is to have 500 people housed. So if you have those units, let us know, because of course, we want to house people just as much as they want to be housed. We're currently working with about 32 developments, give or take. How to estimate that. So we could have one property under one. Actually, I probably worded that incorrectly. So we have about 32 development companies that we work with, and they could have one property under their belt, or we have some properties that have 12 to 18 properties underneath them, but we have about a total of 32 companies that we work with. And then, of course, the MSAs that we serve are all across the state of Texas. But you'll notice that, we don't serve a whole lot of folks in the West Texas area or the Northwest Texas area. We're really focused on the major MSAs like Austin, Dallas, Houston, and the others. So, referral process. So how do folks come onto the 811 program? How are they getting to y'all's front door? So we have what's called a closed referral network. What that means is that the folks that are eligible for our program, they have to be receiving services from a specific agency that we're contracted with in order to apply. There's all different kinds. So let me go over to the next slide. So these are the target populations that we work with. We have folks that are living in institutions with disabilities. Maybe they have like a physical disability, they're wheelchair bound. We have folks that might be coming from what's known as independent care facilities. So they might have DID. Or a mental disability. We have folks that are with serious mental illness. That means that they're receiving outpatient services from the local mental health authority. And then our lowest population that we have right now is youth with disabilities who are aging out of foster care. These are kiddos that are in the foster care system. They're turning of age 18. Some of them might still be, or I'm sorry, some of them might be actually 21. But we do have some folks that are turning 18. They're looking to exit the foster care system, but they have a disability and they're only receiving Social Security. And so they would be eligible for 811. Our most served target population is going to be people with serious mental illness. We have a really awesome network with the local mental health authorities. They've kind of been in the housing game much longer than these other referral agencies have been. So they kind of just knew what housing was whenever 811 started. And so we have a lot of referrals that come from them. But right now we're making efforts to try and serve our other two target populations, folks living in institutions and kiddos that are aging out of foster care. But I think 92% of our housed residents right now are coming from that middle target population. So it's a closed referral network. Sorry, going back to this slide. It's a closed referral network, meaning they have to be receiving services through one of these referral agencies. The referral agent is going to help them fill out that application. They send that to me, and then we put them in the database. We put them on a wait list, and then you'll see whenever I make a referral, I'm transferring their Section 811 application that they filled out with this referral agent and putting that into the developments folder in our secure server. Um, so some of these folks have case managers and have case workers. Some of them are no longer receiving services, maybe by the time that they reach the top of a wait list and get referred to a property. We do not require these folks to be in services. Services are voluntary. They basically just need to be receiving services at the time of application because our referral agents help us to verify that they're eligible for our program. They are the ones that are trained to seek out these people and find out who is eligible and then help them apply for our program. So just a little bit of backstory on, how these folks are getting to your front door and how they're getting into the program and what kind of backgrounds they have. So the current status of our 811 wait list, some of y'all might be aware, some of y'all might not know, is that we have wait lists separated by property. And so there are some counties, for example, Bexar County in San Antonio was one of the first counties that we started the 811 program in. And their wait lists are closed and will probably be closed for at least another year or so. We've just got so many applicants on their wait list. So some of our wait lists, we've got 100+ people on there. So we've closed it down to reduce people's wait times. Other wait lists are open. We might struggle to fill units there. Shout out to all my rural property folks. For example, like in Johnson County, there's not a lot of folks, or there's not a lot of public transportation down there, so it's a less desirable area to live. So wait lists in kind of the more rural areas have shorter wait lists. And those waitlists are still open. So we've got a bunch of closed counties right now, but we have some that are sprinkled that are still open. The Brownsville area, you can see down in South Texas, for example, they all have open wait lists as of right now. And we think my goal is hopefully in a couple months, we're going to be reopening select wait lists all across the state. There's certain properties where we are just running out of applicants. And so our goal is to reopen some of these wait lists in early next year. And then also just kind of to revamp our wait list process. Instead of having people with, 3-year-old applications that have gone stale and, they've moved on, they've changed their phone number. We're trying to restructure our referral system to where we are making more quote live referrals or making referrals in real time to people who are, sitting in an office. I need a place to stay. I qualify for 811. Well, great. Caitlin just sent me an email and said that they have a 1-bedroom unit available at, XYZ location. So that's kind of the goal of our future goals for making referrals, because we are really sludging through these old referrals. I know there's probably a lot of you who are like, yes. There are lots of folks who have changed phone numbers, moved away, fallen out of, services. So they're just not connected anymore. They might not even be living in the area that they were before. And so, we're struggling. I'm struggling to get these units filled because these referrals are just so old. So my goal is to try to get away from that methodology and create more of a live referral system. Okay. Moving on. Unless Catherine, if I'm missing any questions in the chat, definitely let me know.
Will do.
Okay. So I wanted to go over kind of like some frequently asked questions that I get. So the two that I picked were our transfer policy and our unit vacancy or unit return policy. So our transfer policy, I know a lot of folks probably ask the property managers, well, I want to go move to your other sister property down the street from here. There are no transfers from one development to another that you can conduct, basically. They can't go from one 811 unit to another 811 unit that easily. They would have to reapply to the Section 811 program via, their referral agent, whoever they signed up with in the first place. They're going to have to wait until their name reaches the top of another property's wait list. And then, once they reach the top of that wait list, they can submit their 30-day notice, and then they can move on to that property. But, they can't go from one development to another, just, as an easy transfer like that, under 811. So if you have anyone, because I know we get this question a lot. I'm sure you guys get this question all the time. Your folks are coming in and saying, I want to move. What do I do? And y'all might not know the answer to that. It's a lot different than Section 8. Section 8, you take the voucher, you can take that anywhere that a landlord is going to accept that voucher. Because Section 811 is project-based, they are basically taken off all wait lists once they move into your property. And in order to move to another one, they've got to reapply to the program. But tenants can transfer units within current development. So if you have someone that, lives at the back of the complex and wants to move to the front of the complex for whatever reason, that's just an example, they can definitely do that. More often than that, we usually have an upgrade or a downgrade for bedroom size. So if you're going from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, for example, you have an added household member, maybe that person has a reasonable accommodation because they need that extra space for live-in aid, or perhaps they have like really large medical equipment that they need to store in a second bedroom, then they can definitely do that. You don't have to really get our permission on that. Basically, you just need to let us know what unit number they transferred to. And then you do need to make sure that our unit mix stays the same. So for example, if you have like 4 2-bedrooms and 6 1-bedrooms, and let's say all of those units are filled and you're upgrading someone from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, then we'll just have to read you that unit mix contract, and then that can be done through our program coordinator. So just shoot me an email if you have something like that going on. I'll tell you what you need to do. It's usually really simple, but yeah, people can transfer within the development. Unfortunately, there's no transfer policy to transfer easily, I should say. If there's no transfer policy to easily transfer to another development, folks are going to have to reapply for the program. So again, inform us whenever you have an internal transfer that occurs so we can capture that new unit number. And then of course, if it messes with our unit mix, then we can always just adjust and we'll swap that 1-bedroom for a 2-bedroom, if that makes sense.
I've got a quick question for you.
Sure.
The question is there paperwork that has to be filled out by an 811 resident once they provide their 30-day notice to vacate to the development?
Gotcha. I believe the answer is they just have to put it in writing. They just need to say, this is my 30-day notice to vacate, and have it in writing. And that could be through email or that could be through a physical document. Catherine, am I getting that right? Do you have another, maybe a different answer than that?
I think it's good. I don't think there's anything else, even for like a compliance side of it. If they're giving their 30-day notice to vacate, that's sufficient. We just keep maintaining the file, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I don't think
And
there's
I
a need
always,
right now.
yeah, I always say, if you have the time, shoot me a courtesy email to let me know that they're moving out, because what we're going to want to do is replace their unit with another 811 tenant. So just let me know. We can get a head start on sending referrals to replace their unit. So because, if you have someone moving out of an 811 unit, we're going to want to immediately fill that back in. So just let me know. I don't need a copy of their notice to vacate. You can just shoot me an email and say, hey, this person's moving out in 30 days. Go ahead and send me a new list of referrals so we can put someone else in their unit. Okay, so this is kind of my last thing for this series, I should say. So unit vacancy and unit returns, we get a lot of questions about this. So we can only pay 60 days of vacancy. And the 60-day clock starts when the unit is actually available for occupancy, or the make ready date is what Bill always tells me. So vacancy payments are only for units we're actively trying to fill with 811 tenants. This is going to be a unit that you informed me of and said, so-and-so just put in their 30-day notice. We're trying to, refill their unit with someone else. So if we're trying to fill that unit consistently for 60 days and, no one can be contacted, or all the folks that came in, changed their mind or got rejected, then we can return that unit right back to you. I try to cap it at 60 days so you don't have to go through all of this. So you could just recapture that unit yourself and then don't have to do the vacancy payments. But if it goes over, just shoot me an email to confirm that we're going to return or release the unit back to you. And then you will have to contact Ann Hittner at Blueprint. That's our go-to point of contact at Blueprint. You can request what's called a vacancy claim checklist, and all of that goes through her, and she'll just relay that information back to Bill, who processes our vouchers. So we get this question a lot. I imagine we'll probably touch on this and the last one on each session that we have. So, but yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions regarding vacancies. But with that, that is my portion of this series. So I will hand it over to Catherine. And let me stop presenting my screen.
Thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of those topics you talked about? Just kind of the beginning of the referral process, going through there, the notices. Notice if a resident provides a notice to vacate, or how the referral process works. And see if we get anything in the chat box, but I feel like it's been kind of quiet, which is good. And like Caitlin said, we wanted this peer-to-peer series to be, yes, structured, to have an agenda, but we also wanted to keep it really fairly informal. Because we want you guys to communicate. We want you guys to say, hey, this is what's going on at my property, or I have a question about this, and everybody can kind of get on the same page as it goes along, as those things come up. So we did. We just want to keep an open conversation. We want to provide technical assistance. We don't want anyone to feel like they're outing themselves. We're going to immediately issue non-compliance. That's absolutely not what this training series is for. We're here to help all of you, and like she said, get our faces out there. More so, compliance is our compliance division. Wonderful division. They are also a great source to ask for help, but also they are more focused on a certain point in time, being they're going out every 3 years and doing a monitoring view and taking a snapshot then. We, in our A11 division, kind of want to focus on the day-to-day compliance issues that you guys are working with, and be able to be a good assistance for that as well. So yes, we're getting questions. Awesome. Okay. So let me do those real quick before we move forward. So first one is, if you are doing a lease up, do you need to designate the 811 units up front? No, you do not. Reason for that, we want these units dispersed throughout the development. We don't want them designated to a certain building, to a certain floor, to anything like that. Obviously, the amenities, we want them to be the same as any other unit or any other tax credit units you have at your development. So no, which I have seen that. I've seen some folks say, oh, well, this was an 811 resident in unit 10, so we have to make sure that that one stays an 811 unit. No, it needs to float. Those of you that have home programming as well, some of those, I know you can fix those probably, or some can float, but these need to float. These need to go throughout your entire development. Oh, and I'm going to have to scroll up to keep going through questions. So hope I answered that question for you. If not, feel free to add more to the chat, and we can keep going from there. Next question is, what is Blueprint? So Blueprint is the entity that basically transfers our information, our 5.9s, our 5059 tenant certifications, subsidy, all of that. They are our third party, if you will, to move all that information to HUD specifically. So they, like I said, third party for us, they do all that. We don't do that in-house here. So if you get anything saying for a voucher, there's an error on your voucher, you're probably going to be contacted by Blueprint Solutions. Ann Hittner is a wonderful source there. Not to age her in any way, but I worked with her when I was at Southwest Housing back in 2008. She has been doing it for a very long time and is very good at working with that. So thank you, Ann, if you happen to be on here. So yeah, so that's what that is. Kind of saying, what is Blueprint contact information? We can provide that. Did you already provide that? I thought I saw it further down, Caitlin, as far as the Blueprint for Ann Hittner. Yes,
Yes.
show see. Okay, perfect. We've gotten that one answered. Next one, is it okay if a current resident adds a household member, and does the age matter on the addition? So yes, they can absolutely add another household member. What can become an issue is if they add an adult dependent. Because specifically for 811, adult dependents can only be added to the household after move-in if they're there to provide the services as a live-in aid. So let's say I've got a 23-year-old daughter that wants to move in with me. Again, she could, only if she's going to be a live-in aid. So you would go through that verification process, follow, whatever, in the 4350 that tells you the verifications that need to be done and all the documentation that goes along with adding a live-in aid. Anything outside of that, yes, they can be added to the household. As far as I'm concerned, Caitlin, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we necessarily need notification of that. We'll probably see it on a 5059 or see it through the monitoring review, but again, unless there's just something wrong, there's non-compliance with, how income was verified, we really don't need to know otherwise. Answer that one. All right, next one. What is the process to terminate a person from the program? I have a resident that needs to be evicted and is on 811. So we'll kind of touch on this here in just a couple minutes, regards to notices to vacate. And I'll leave this one open just for right now because we'll go over that because we do need to be notified of that. Particularly if they are going to be going through eviction process, there's more to that. So let me hold on to that one and I'll definitely get back to you. The next one is, how does a prospect contact a certified referral agent, or do they already have one? So Caitlin has done an amazing job of networking with our referral agents and getting a lot of those folks certified to be able to reach out to clients they currently have that they're providing services to and saying, hey, we've got this great housing program, Section 811, we'd love for you to apply. They have all the information they need. They have been trained to know what to ask for. They have copies of our 811 application and the property options form, all of that goes into that. They have that, they submit it to us. So most of these applicants are already receiving services. And I think that a lot of time it's not so much of okay, I'm waiting on someone that would be a good candidate for this program. I think they're just they've always got folks that could apply for this program and they send those applications to us. So that's the important part of the referral agents. And I think the next meeting we have, honestly, we may bring in 2 of our rock star referral agents from the Hair Center. If not this one, then maybe the meeting after that. So you guys can actually see they are real people. They do a lot for our residents and a lot for us in the 811 division. So just to know that it's also going on in the background along with what we do here at the state for this program.
Let me piggyback off
yes.
that real quick, Catherine.
Yes.
So most folks should have a certified referral agent, but if their application is, more than a year or 2 old, which unfortunately we're running into, that's the big issue that we've been running into this year is just really old applications. They might not be connected to that referral agent anymore. We don't require, again, like I said earlier, we don't require services as voluntary, so they might not have that case manager. That's not something that we require. So I know some people are like, oh, refer back to your case manager. They might not actually have one, or referral agent. They can kind of be interchangeable. So they should have one. Hopefully they're still connected, but just know that some folks might just be, still on the wait list, have that same phone number, but they're not connected to services anymore. So,
thank you for that. Perfect. Okay. Moving right along. Okay. Yes. So our contact Ann Hittner, SHCC. So that's the thing too. You'll see those names kind of interchangeable. Southwest Housing Compliance Corporation, or SHCC, is the entity. They have like a subsidiary, Blueprint Solutions. It's kind of one and the same agency. So just letting you know, if you see, like for her, she's got the SHCC email, it's still Blueprint Solutions. So I just want to make that clear. I feel like that can be confusing sometimes. So our next one is, what would happen if a resident submits a 30-day notice to vacate and the property has been sent a referral for the unit and the resident decides to cancel the notice to vacate? Caitlin, I'm gonna leave this one for you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. This is no problem. If that person cancels their notice to vacate, then, just continue to house them in that unit. Let us know this person changed their mind. We'll stop sending you referrals. If you had anyone that was in that in the application process, maybe they were there, you have someone who was like ready to apply. You could tell them that that unit is no longer available. And what we'll do is we'll hold their name to be the very next person that gets referred when the next 811 unit becomes available. But our units float. We can basically fill any 50 or 60% unit. So if you happen to have another unit that opens up while that person is still applying, you can move them into that unit, and then the person that rescinded their notice to vacate can stay in their unit. But just let us know, shoot us an email. We will just pause the referrals that we gave you, and then probably just give you that same list of referrals the next time a unit does become available. These are really awesome questions. I hope we get them all. I'm trying to make sure we get them.
Yes, of course. Well, I would say the next one's probably gonna be for you as well, because it says, I have several properties that need 10 to 11, 811 units, but do not get referrals. So the referrals we get are stale. What do we do after the 60-day vacancy loss claim? Can we offer to the general public?
Yes. So ideally, I think on average at all of our properties, we have 10 units set aside for 811. Ideally, we would love to fill all 10 of those. But what we're dealing with, and I will shift the blame onto our director and program coordinator who started the program, they kind of opened up these wait lists and probably did not close them as quickly as they should have. So we've got a lot of stale applicants. And so right now we're actually undergoing a process of reaching out to old applicants to see if they want to stay on the wait list. I think we're about to take off about 400 people off of our wait lists to hopefully create more fresher referrals, if you will. So if the referrals you get are stale and you can't get anything, and we've had that unit open for 60 days, we'll go ahead and return it. Just shoot me an email and say, hey, we tried all of these. It's been 60 days. I try to keep up with the 60-day mark. Sometimes I can't keep track of them all. We've got 82 properties that we're constantly in contact with. So sometimes I lose that date. Just remind me and be like, hey, it's day 59. We haven't, we've gone through 3 or 4 sets of referrals and haven't been able to fill a unit. We'll go ahead and return that unit. If you want, you can make a vacancy claim on that. And then, yes, you can offer that to the general public and offer that unit to any non-811 applicant. So.
Wonderful. And just to let you know too, when we have those, if we're returning your unit, we're trying to kind of get the process to remembering, I may add that just an email saying, hey, we return this unit to CMTS, which is the Compliance Monitoring Tracking System. So if those of you see that response pop up, you get a notification something was uploaded in CMTS, and it's just that no response. We just want to keep track of that. And CMTS is also good communication for our A11 division and compliance division. So when they go out to monitor, they already know, hey, these units have been returned. We don't need to, they still ask us if developments are notifying us of vacancies, but that gives some more information to them for the monitor and review as well. So just letting you know, you may see that pop up in CMTS. Yes, these are great questions. Thank you guys. This is awesome. This is what we were definitely after with peer-to-peer. So good stuff. So the next one, I'm going to tell you, we probably will kind of push off just for the next couple of topics that I'll go over, but I just want to point out there. So if I skip it, not go back to it, feel free to holler at me. It says, if an 811 resident is late on their recertification and it's the tenant's fault, should we backdate the rent or terminate them out of the program immediately and then do an IC or an initial certification once they complete the recert? I will go over this real quick on our next recertification stuff. So I just want to pin that to the side and we'll get back to that. That's a really good question. Thank you. Next one, what happens when you terminate a resident from 811? Recently, we had a resident terminated and now owes us $10,000. We were never notified according to their attorney. what is the process for termination? And this is another one I'll go over here in just a second with the termination of assistance as well as termination of tenancy. We'll go over that because this is a question that I have seen more often come up with termination of assistance. Developments aren't understanding why. So definitely we'll get back to that one. So thank you. Next one, does the Section 811 program have an application? Lease addendums, since the Section 11 applicant resident is not supposed to sign any work that has TDHCA on it. So good question. We do on our website, and actually Caitlin, if I can ask you to post on there where we've got our forms and everything with our application for on our website. So we do have forms. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily just specific as it's just going to say 811 on there. There are specific HUD forms like the lease, and I may have this form number wrong, but I think the HUD model lease is like 92336 or 92236. I always get mixed up with the 2s and the 3s. But that's also, it's in the HUD 43 handbook as to which lease. Where that really comes into play with TA forms is the notice to vacate. If you guys use Blue Moon software, which I want to say is with TAA, they do have the affordable housing section. I think even in those notices to vacate, they include the language that's required from the HUD 4350 for termination. There's quite a bit more than just a normal tax credit notice to vacate. It still will reference the HUD. I believe it will still reference the TA lease, which really is it. That's not a lease. That's not for our 811 residents to use. So definitely look on our website. We do for participating properties. We've got forms on there, all that's needed. We supply the 811 application, so that does, it needs to be maintained in the file, but that's not something that you would have to get from us per se to have your residents fill out. You guys can use your property form when they enter the development. So, but yes, any kind of lease addendums. As of right now, the only other addendum I know of that applies for tax credit that we have approved to be able to use is the lockout language on your affordable housing addendum for the tax credit for TA lease. That does have the good cause language and the lockout. We're accepting that. So compliance, if you guys are on here, if y'all aren't accepting that particular form for 811, let me know. But we do accept something that has lockout language on there because that is required for tax credit, and it's just easier to kind of keep that together with release. What else? I think more or less, yeah, if there's any other forms, those are going to be there, but let me know if you have more specific questions regarding those 811 forms from our website. Good stuff. So who is the contact point, or who's the correct point of contact to submit the vacancy loss claim? And Caitlin, I believe this is going to be Ann Hittner, is that correct?
Yes, and I'm going to pin that message to the top, as well as the link that I just sent. So if y'all need, I know the chat is like blowing up. So you should be able to look at the very top, but I'll pin the contact for Ann real quick.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, the next one. Does a 60-day vacancy loss also go for a unit that previously housed a Section 811 resident? And I think this is going to be, it depends. And Caitlin, I may definitely go push this one to you for that. And I think it does. It depends if you guys have been marketing it. We've been sending referrals, but for whatever reason, those have been stagnant. Once you have exhausted all of those avenues, then we would say, okay, yes, now you can file a vacancy claim for that. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. Nail on the head. Yep.
Sweet. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm getting that part. There's so much with this coming into its compliance stuff, but I have to admit, when it comes to the vacancy claims or the voucher stuff, even having worked with it at Southwest Housing, if it's not your day-to-day stuff, but we all know it doesn't always stick with you very long. At least for me, it doesn't. And so yes, I always have I was like, hey Caitlin, how do you answer this one? So, but I'm learning. Good. Okay. Next question. What does the 811 waitlist in Austin look like currently? I have units available, but never hear from 811 applicants. I understand Travis County is closed. This will definitely be a Caitlin question.
Yes. Right now, Austin and San Antonio and Dallas, I would say, have the longest wait lists. We have applicants who have applied from 2018, and because we have to follow our policies about waitlist management, unfortunately, we have to exhaust those applicants as they come to us, or I'm sorry, in the order that they're on the waitlist. So I try very hard to filter out those that I know might have updated contact information. So it is tough right now. The waitlists are closed in Austin. We might have select properties where we're running out of maybe like 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom referral applicants or household sizes for those units. So we're really struggling with we have a lot of single people on these wait lists. And so it is a struggle. We're currently doing efforts to try and clear off this wait list. So really the only thing I can say is just be patient with us. We're trying to get fresher referrals for these, but as of right now, the wait lists are still closed. But hopefully in the spring of next year, we could be opening up 3 to 4 wait lists. And then over the course of next year, we'll probably start to open a lot more of them as the wait lists go down. So I know there are a lot of stale referrals out there, and we are trying to remedy that, I promise. Because it's a struggle for me as well. Yeah, it sucks.
Thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate it with that one. All right, our next one. After an 811 is turned over, or 811 unit, I'm guessing, is turned over back to us, you cannot find an eligible applicant, and we process applicants, but cannot find an eligible applicant. Can we then turn it back to you again? If so, when? So I think so. If these units, again, because they float, it doesn't have to be a specific unit that's designated for 811. So let's say, yes, you've got a 3-bedroom unit that you're trying to get filled. We don't have any applicants to return that unit to you. And I guess let me ask this, is it also that you're not able to find any applicants from a tax credit side to be able to fill that unit? If that's the case, at that point, it is whatever unit it is. If you want to return it or say, hey, can we try and fill it again with an 811 applicant? My guess is that yes, we can try again and go through referrals that we have. If it's as far as with a tax credit applicant, that's up to you guys. You don't have to return it back to us and say, hey, let's try again. You can just keep trying to fill with whatever tax credit applicant that you can get for that unit. So hopefully I answered that question. If not, let us know. We can talk further on that. Caitlin, do you have anything to add to that one? Okay.
No, I think you got it. Yeah, we don't need to be notified twice.
Okay.
Yeah. Once that unit is returned to you, that is your unit. Just let us know when the next available 811 unit becomes available, and we're set.
Perfect. All right. So sample files, yes, we've got that section on there that's got the forms that we use. We are also, when you said sample file, made me think we do have a section, and I'll show you here in just a minute. With the notices of vacate, we want to add a sample file to this, and this is something that's still kind of in the works. So actually, you guys could go in and see what those forms look like. What's required, what TDHCA forms that are available to use, but also what those HUD required forms are. So yes, so hopefully be looking in the future for that to come up. Next one, what is the website again for the forms? I think Caitlin's already answered that one. That's on there. Perfect. Thank you. Oh, we're getting to the end. Okay. Next one, is there anywhere we can get a file checklist for 811 files? Yes. So if you've received a notification for an on-site review for 811, the 811 checklist is attached to that notification. So if you've received that, that is a great reference to go back to and use that. Again, I think Amy, I don't want to call her out, but if she's on here with our peer-to-peer, if she said yes, that, we can send a checklist to you to use, we can definitely do that. So I'll ask her, we'll come back, I'll pin that, and I can try and send it to you afterwards. So it's a good question, because I think every agent, every management company wants to organize their file a certain way. I will say and I think they've moved to this in compliance as well, because those files are being uploaded through the 811 portal for them to review. They are asking that they're in that order to make it easier for them. Going through this PDF file, some of them are just massive. You can look, there'll be 100, 200 pages long, because we're going from beginning of move-in, and if it's been 3 years, you can only imagine HUD in itself is killing trees like crazy. So all that paperwork is in those files and all that's being uploaded. So it is a lot. But yes, it is nice to have that checklist, and you can just go through. If you want to keep in the order, great, totally up to you, but we do have that. Next question, will the certified referral agent provide supportive services for the 811 applicants? Yes and no. Yes, if they maintain contact with that referral agent. Some of these agencies, I know some communication I've sent out saying we don't work with these clients anymore. Some of them work with them for 3 months. and then that's it. And so it's up to their client or our resident to reach back out if they want to continue those services, but they are not required for occupancy once they get into the unit. Yes, it's required to be eligible for the program, but again, not for occupancy for the A11 program. Anything else you want to add with that, Caitlin?
No, yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, services are voluntary. We don't require that they continue to receive services through these folks. We have some really, really awesome, like rock star referral agents that will, there's a notice to vacate that will let them know, and they are on it. They are contacting that person. They're trying to mediate that issue. And then we have folks who, just are, they might have moved out of county. They don't have, supportive services anymore. So it's a yes and no. It just kind of depends on what's going on with that specific individual. We try to maintain good relationship with our referral networks to encourage them to, stay in contact with these folks because, housing is one thing, but having those supportive services is another. So some of them do and some of them don't, unfortunately. So.
Awesome. Okay, Amy answered yes. The checklist we have is the one we send with notification. So, she can't attach it to the chat, but we'll email it to you now and maybe you can have that. So yes, they do have that available. Again, it is a great checklist because it goes through the move-in paperwork that's required, recertification paperwork, interim paperwork that's required, and I think even at the very bottom was a gross rent 5059 they'll ask for. So it's a great checklist that encompasses just about everything. And if you ever get questions on that, definitely feel free to reach out to the compliance division and ask that, or contact us either way. But yes, they would be very helpful having that checklist. So yes, thank you, Amy. Appreciate it. So again, thanks for all of the questions. This is, like I said, this is what we wanted to do for this. And it really helps with all those questions. Everybody gets to hear those questions and everyone gets to be on board. And be a cohesive group. I like it. It's great. So, but moving right along. So yes, kind of going back to our termination of assistance. Real quick, I'm going to try this. We'll see how this works. I'm going to ask 2 questions and I'm going to provide 2 responses for each of those questions. So I really appreciate it. Everyone listen to both before answering. If these 2 questions don't apply to you at all, don't worry about responding. But in the chat, you can type a 1 if you have somehow lost assistance for a resident, so your subsidy for your resident, and you do not understand why, type a 1 in the chat box. Or if you have lost subsidy for a resident and you do understand why, type a 2. So again, I'm going to repeat myself. So type a 1 if you have lost subsidy for a resident and do not understand why, or type 2 if you have lost subsidy and you do understand. So we'll kind of wait and see. And again, and the reason I bring this up, because we have received some emails regarding saying, hey, I haven't received a subsidy for this resident. We don't know what's going on. Reaching out, or we'll have a resident call us and say, hey, they sent me a notice to vacate because they raised my rent to market rent or contract rent. And they don't know why. They wanted me to contact you. So we're getting more and more of those. And I think too, a lot of it is with developments. There has been so much change, turnover with staff, just at the development, but also with management companies. I know we've got some that are taking on 3 or 4 more properties than before. The hands are switching constantly. So, but I'm seeing 2s, which is good. That's a good thing. Okay, good. Yay. So maybe it was just kind of one of those things, everybody's replies, not for this, but we just kind of get an influx of email for the same topic. And it seems like it keeps coming up. That's okay. I still want to cover it so that way everybody's on the same page. Okay, awesome. Okay, let me go back. No, can do this. Okay, perfect. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen real quick. And just wanted to talk about, let me know if you all can see. Hang on, I hate when Teams does this. Totally goes away. Are you guys able to see the screen? Because I'm not able to see it online.
Yes, you are all good.
That's good. Okay, weird. I just see all of the people. I just see chats. Okay, I just see names. That's all I see. Okay, Okay, so the reason I asked about the termination of assistance is because more often than not, it is due to a resident failing to recertify. And that could be either you sent the 120-day notices, 90-day, 60-day notices, they have not responded in a timely manner. Or it's maybe the development, they responded timely, the development has done what they can and trying to obtain verifications of income, assets, medical expenses, but you're not getting a timely response from third parties. Or just for whatever reason, you guys just haven't done. The recertification, again, when you've had a lot of turnover at the development, you've had management changes, you're just kind of going into the property being plopped in your lap and saying good luck. And trying to figure out what's going on and where everybody stands. So, but more often than not, when it is a failure to recertify, again, a termination of assistance, it's due to failure to recertify. What I wanted to point out, though, it's in the HUD Handbook 4350 7-6. It's overview of annual certification procedures. And so I'm going to kind of read this a little bit. I don't want to go to full, read the whole thing, but it says it is the owner's responsibility to process all recertifications in a timely manner. And here in bold, it says HUD headquarters will terminate a certification if a new recertification is not submitted within 15 months of the previous year's recertification anniversary date. And the reason I want to point this out is that HUD understands that there may be circumstances where it doesn't get completed in that 12-month time period. And they're giving you a 3-month grace period to get that certification in before HUD terminates that assistance. And I want to make that clear that HUD is the entity that terminates that assistance. We, as the State Housing Finance Agency, don't do that. We, as the 811 division, don't do that. Which, when we're not in the business to terminate assistance, we want to keep our residents housed and receiving subsidy. So HUD will do this when it hasn't been transmitted in time. And so another thing I want to point out that I have seen for those of you that use a third-party vendor, and I keep wanting to think PMCS, but I don't know if that's it. I have never worked with a third-party vendor on property, so I can't think of them offhand. But if you do, what I've seen on a ledger, but let's say you had an annual recertification or they moved in November 2021. So their annual recertification would be due November of 2022 this year. It hasn't been submitted by October 31st. So your third-party vendor will automatically go in, and when that new posting or rent post for November, it's going to show your market rent. It's not going to show your subsidized rent amount. And it'll say failure to recertify. And I feel like I've seen third-party vendors do that. To be honest, whether or not they could go in and say, okay, we're just going to submit a terminated 5-9, I don't think that's the case. Again, if HUD gives that 3-month grace period, I don't think you would actually see it on a voucher until this time frame has ended. So I just want to make that clear, because like I said, we get residents that say, hey, the developer doesn't understand why they've sent us to you. But more often than not, it's due to failure to recertify. So we definitely want to make sure that developments are sending those notices, the 120-day, 90 and 60. You can find those in Chapter 7, I believe. It's been a little bit, but that discusses all of the annual recertification documentation that's required. And if you're doing that, you're trying to get those items submitted timely to get that certification in. And if the rent does increase, to give them that full 30 days. So Jonathan, kind of going back to your question that if an 811 resident fails to recertify timely, can you backdate that certification? Can you basically retroactively apply that rent? What happens is, yes, you would retroactively make that certification effective. So let's say it's now let's say it's February and this person's just February of 2023. We'll use our November certification date for the example, as to when they should have recertified. You would, in February, date that certification for November. Yes, that is correct. If the resident failed to get it done, and let's say you're making it effective for February, you're working on it in January. Sorry, I don't want to confuse you guys if I am, let me know. It's in January. You would make the rent effective February 1st if their rent were to be increasing. So I'll repeat that again. So you've been working on it. It's going to be due in February 1st. It's January 15th and you've got it completed. You would then, and the rent is increasing. you would implement that rent effective February 1st, even though the certification itself is being backdated to November. Reason that, I don't want to say punishment for them, but they no longer get that 30-day notice of a rent increase when they have failed to properly take the steps to recertify on time. Now, if their rent was decreasing, you would still go back to that November 1st effective date, and you would retroactively apply the rent then. So that's, like I said, the whole timing of it does get confusing. Chapter 7 details, they've got other examples of when those things happen if they fail to recertify timely, or if it's a failure on the development's end. Let's say it's the development's fault. For whatever reason, you guys didn't get it done. You would then have to provide the 30-day rent increase. So again, we're working on it by January 15th. The certification is due in November. Their rent would not increase until March 1st because they did do what they needed to. Again, the development, let's say, didn't. You would still need to provide at least 30 days notice to the resident for that. Did any of that make sense? I'm hoping it did. Definitely feel free to put questions in the chat if it doesn't. Also, if you are having issues with a resident that's not responding to your notices, that just is not being cooperative, one, reach out. If you have the referral agent's contact information, reach out to them. They can definitely assist with that. They can go in, work with them, even come with you if they want to walk in with that resident to go through the recertification process. We have seen some do that, which is great. If not, you're not able to, reach out to us. Again, just like this industry has lots of turnover, so does that working with Health and Human Services or Department of Family Protective Services. They also have high turnover. And so those referral agents are changing. And we probably would see that more often than you guys, knowing who's changed hands, who's now working with these clients. So we see that. Another thing I want to point out that we're also trying to help is, I think starting the beginning of this year, probably February, we started sending out what I call 120-day recertification notice to our referral agents. And what that means is I'm sending them individually. So let's say Caitlin has 5 residents that are at different properties, but she has 5 811 residents. I'm letting her know that in 120 days from now, her clients are going to have a recertification due. And so I'm sending out a copy of the documentation so our file checklist basically for the A11 on-site notification, just to give them an idea of what documentation is required. I think one of those questions tends to be, why are they asking for this? Why are they asking for bank statements for the Cash App? Why are they asking for just income verification? It at least gives them something to say. The state is even telling us that they're going to ask for this documentation. We also provide, which is on our district TDHCA website, is I think it's how rent is determined. I can't remember, we've used it for tax credit. But it also details how that 30% adjusted income is calculated. So it gives them that information they can at least take to the residents. Okay, we've got this, they can read through it, work through. We hope with that allows that referral agent to reach back out. Maybe if they hadn't been receiving services, the resident hasn't been receiving services, it gives them a chance to contact them again, or just keep in touch, keep things going. And so hopefully that'll help. Hopefully you guys are seeing assistance from that a little bit from the referral agents. And hopefully referral agents are reaching out to you saying, hey, we received notification that they're recertifying. Let us know how we can help. So again, I'm doing that every month. So if they're recertifying, I think for this month, I did it for those recertifying February, March. So again, doing that every month. So hopefully that will help. Any questions regarding, I don't want to go into full detail with recertification. I feel like we could do 2 8-hour trainings on this and still not get through all that's involved with recertifications and the questions that would be involved. Maybe something else with termination of assistance. Again, we don't get notification that someone has been terminated. We will see on a voucher that it'll show as a TM, which is the termination code on the 5059. We can kind of put 2 and 2 together to see, okay, they moved in November 2021. Here it is, January, February, it's nothing has been requested as far as subsidy and nothing has been approved and paid. So we can put, like I said, put it together that obviously this person failed to recertify. But no, there's no other way for us to know that that's been done unless you notify us or the resident does, or there's issues in that regard. So any questions with that? Let's see, Caitlin, do you see if there's anything in there? Okay, with the IRs, we frequently have residents that fail to report timely. Okay, yes, good, and I can kind of talk about this too. So even with, well, we may have to do this, maybe another long one. But with IRs, I think, and IRs are interim certifications. So let's say you have pulled your EIV income report and it shows that they're working, and that resident failed to notify you that they're working. So this would be something that, yes, you would do an interim certification, contact the applicant or the resident, say, hey, we saw this on the EIV report. Can you report to us within 10 days to discuss that and go back through? This is where you would, hopefully, in a perfect world, your resident would respond timely. They say, yes, sorry, I just started, failed to respond, or failed to notify you. Okay, great. You send out your third-party verification, or they can supply pay stubs, or both. We probably want to do both, so that way you do have a start, an official start date for their employment. You process that. If they fail to notify you, you get your termination date. Your interim certification would be due the following month. So here, let's say you found this out in November, it's November 5th, and they came in and you verified it. Their rent increase would be effective December 1st. So now, if they came in and they did report it before, maybe it showed up on EIV, or they say, hey, I'm going to start a job and next week, here's, my offer letter, this is all be working or being paid, great. Process that interim certification. It would be effective. This is where I'm going to get confused. I don't want to confuse anybody. It would be effective the following month, but the rent would not increase. Well, actually, I think so. Let's say it's November. It would not be effective until January 1st. If they reported timely that they are working, that rent increase would not be in that its certification would not be effective until January 1st. That's correct. And Amy, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a little bit, I have to admit, I've been out of this for a year and doing monitoring reviews every month, and I have to admit it's a little hazy when it comes to specifics with interim certifications. So I hope I've answered that. Also, that I want to point out with your annual certifications and your interims that you are required to pull EIV, which is the enterprise income verification, pull the income reports. That's a minimum required by HUD. Hopefully it's also in your policies and procedures. So please do so with that. And if you're having issues with EIV, feel free to contact either compliance or myself. Maybe even Bill. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he's also a good contact when it comes to the EIV logging in and that sort of working with that. So good questions. Anything else? I think we're good. So I'm gonna move on, if I can make this all work, moving on to the next slide. Okay, so when you kind of going back to what Caitlin was talking about with notices to vacate. So let's say, yes, you do have a termination of assistance, but now you actually need to do a termination of tenancy, meaning this resident, let's say for non-payment of rent, or they've, committed some criminal or drug activity on site. This would be something for termination of tenancy, meaning they are going to be vacating the unit. This particular section is taken from our TIDTAC Chapter 8, which is for the 811 program. It's 8.3 L8, vacancy, household changes, transfers, evictions. This states that we require at least a 3-day notice from you that you are going to be issuing a notice to vacate, or that they're going to go through the eviction process. Reason being is, one, we want to make sure that you are using a compliant notice to vacate. And this goes back to with the TAA forms and the Blue Moon software that may not have a compliant notice to vacate. And we do have that on our website, and I'll pull up the link for that here in just a second and add it to the chat. Because there are specifics that are noted in Chapter 8 of the HUD 4350 that talks about those notices. It needs 10 days. Or discussion period has to be provided, the reasonable accommodation, VAWA, all those items need to be in there. So, but again, we do need 3 calendar days. And if you do, and Caitlin, correct me if I'm wrong on this, if you notify us, email us on a Monday, you do have a compliant notice to vacate. They still need to wait the 3 days, correct, Caitlin? Before they issue that notice to vacate?
Yes, yes. So if you give
Okay.
it to us on a Monday, you can issue it on Wednesday, I believe. Because
Yes.
we'll, depending what time you send it, we'll count Monday as day 1, Tuesday day 2, and then Wednesday day 3. And you can send it on Wednesday. So
Okay, perfect. And also with that, with any notice to vacate that we receive, Caitlin and or myself can reach out to the referral agents to say, hey, this client or client is being issued a notice to vacate. And we do that to help bring them into the situation to see if they can assist in any way. So you may get contact from them in regards to that. So it does, like I said, it gives us that extra time to really go out, contact them, try to get them some help, and maybe we can remedy the situation without having to issue a notice to vacate to them. So that's also why that we want, that's important for that. When you do have a notice to vacate that you are going to be submitting, contact the 811 info inbox. Hopefully, every one of you are familiar with that. That is definitely our catch-all inbox. But if you're asking for for referrals for your vacancies or notifying us of vacancies, that's all done through the 811 info box. So please reach out there and let me give you. And here's the link that we have. Let me see if I can. Maybe not. Oh no. And we can put this in the chat as well to the link to get our compliant notices to vacate if you need those. And they are form fillable, I believe. If not, they are in a Word document, so you are able to change those and put them into PDF if you need to. So awesome. I see that we do have lots of questions. Let's see where we left off. Just terminate. So that's how we discover it. So you suggest we terminate if they fail to respond. So going back to Jonathan's comment there, talking about, so that's how we usually discover it. So you suggest that we terminate if they fail to respond. So let me make this clear to you. If it's failure to recertify, it would be a termination of assistance. It would not be that you are making them vacate the unit. Assistance can be turned on and off. So if they fail to recertify, they would stay in your unit. They would go up to, let's say, the 60% tax credit contract rent until they can recertify. So I'm trying to think too. So yeah, so again, don't make them vacate the unit. They would stay there. If they do recertify, then you would contact us and say, hey, they've completed all the recertification steps. We want to reinstate their assistance. Yes, we do want to get that email just to make sure we've got funding. We're doing quite well with funding. It's fine. But again, we just want to be notified of that just in case. And then you would do an initial certification or an IC. And what that does is that then turns that assistance back on, makes it effective. It does not change their anniversary date, I believe. I will verify that for sure, but I want to say you would still maintain their move-in date as their recertification date. But just letting you know that yes, the assistance can be turned on and turned off should they lose assistance, particularly for failure to recertify. Hopefully I answered that one. Next one, how long does it take to get fully activated and access to EIV? Every month I get no records found on my EIV for one of my properties. I understand I only have a few tenants, but even when I attempt to pull by head of household, they still do not pull up. I'm not sure what the problem could be, but if I have a contract on my EIV access. So generally, let's say you're Brady property and you're just coming on, it could take up to 180 days to get access to EIV. I would reach out if you're having issues, and I have seen this quite a bit, that you could be in a property for a year or two. You've been trying to get through, you're doing recertifications for your residents and nothing is coming up on the head of household record. Contact the EIV help desk, see what the issue may be. If not, reach out to your EIV coordinator. But if you are the EIV coordinator, contact EIV help desk and go from there. That would be, I guess, the best point of contact to figure out what's going on with the EIV access. It could be that for whatever reason, 5.9s aren't being transmitted. There could be a plethora of reasons why it would not be showing up on those income reports for your head of household and EIV. And that'll be another topic I think we'll definitely cover down the road. EIV is huge. I've been trying, Caitlin, I don't know, probably the whole year that we've been here to get EIV access. It has taken me forever to get access, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's because of us. It just does. With everything going on, I know they have far better things to worry about than me getting EIV access at HUD, but, that is something that, yes, we'll try and do, and we can, that would be even a better tool for me to use, especially for peer-to-peer or on-site trainings as well, if I have my own EIV access. So hopefully that'll be in the works in the future. If I didn't answer that, let me know. Next one, once you submit the 5.9, it takes up to 6 months for them to appear. HUD activated me within 48 hours. Awesome. What did you tell them to get you activated? Because it's not taking me a lot longer. And submitting the 5.9, I think it is, I'm not sure why it would take up for 6 months for it to appear. There could also be errors on a voucher. And so, and maybe going back with the bill, or going with HUD and saying, okay, we've got these errors that need to be fixed. I would love to sit at her desk and see what kind of errors go on, just see what that process is like. Because there are things that may delay that 5.9 getting transmitted properly and timely to HUD. If you are getting those kind of issues as well too, let us know. Maybe we can assist with that, or at least get with Ann at SHCC. So it says we will go on, a year in March, and I'm assuming that's with not being able to have EIV access. Yeah. Definitely reach out to your EIV coordinator and or the EIV help desk with that to see if we can get you guys certified, and keep track of all of your communication and correspondence that you have in trying to obtain EIV access. Keep that in your probably your master binder folder for our compliance division. When they go out and review, they see you're attempting it. We're either getting or not getting a response from HUD. That will come into play with that monitoring review as well. So keep track of that. What else do we have? Okay, with IR. So John, if I didn't quite answer your questions with the interim certification, let me know. So Amy, if they are having EIV access issues, they should document this in the master binder. It is helpful for the compliance to review to avoid issue non-compliance. See, Amy and I are on the same page. We've got it. We know. Like I said, anytime you have any issues with something and you're not able to process what you need to when you need to, notate the file. That's all we can tell you guys to do, because it gives us the whole picture of what's happening, and we put it all together. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not just you guys that sounds awful, but maybe just sitting on your thumbs and not knowing what to do and don't want to do it, or whatever the case may be. We all know the EIV, like those of you that are working with it, it's interesting. We'll put it that way. So I know it's not the most fun program to work with. So sorry, but yes, we have to use it. So next question on Social Security. Should we be including COLA for A11 income calculation? I know tax credit requires it. So yes, if you though have a certification that is due probably between January and April, and you use EIV to determine the income amount for Social Security, they have not added the COLA amount yet. So during that time, hopefully, usually, when do we get it? October, I think, is when we get our cost of living increase notification. Well, I think a lot of the residents are getting those letters around that time saying it's going to increase to 5.9%, let's say. If you have a certification between January and April, you would need to add that COLA at that time. Because again, it's not going to be EIV. After April, EIV should have been updated by now. And you would no longer have to include that COLA amount at that time, because it should be in there. Again, shouldn't have to. If there's always a discrepancy or the tenant disputes it, you would need to default to the Social Security ward letter. But yes, that information should be there. So hopefully that helps. Again, and the tax credit, I know, let's say you received it in October, they're certifying in January. I'm trying to think, and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong. I know there's going to be like a little gap. There's a little lapse of when you would calculate 2 months at the current Social Security ward letter amount. Then the next 10 months you would calculate, including that COLA amount. More or less, we'd want to see, honestly, the same thing for 811 instead of it just being annualized for the next 12 months. Again, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong on that, how you want to see that. But that's that's how I remember with the COLA for Social Security for compliance. So I hope it answered that one as well. What else? Again, these are great questions, and we actually have about 10 minutes, so we're doing pretty good. I'm going to go through just a couple more of these, and anything we don't get to in this chat, we'll definitely record notes, and then we'll go back and we'll email you guys with the responses. Next one is, will there be a recording that we can be viewed later at a later time? Yes, there will be, and it'll be posted hopefully on our YouTube channel for 8/11, so that will be there. And let me stop sharing my screen. No, I think it's good. Okay. Yes, so that's on there. The next one is, our major concern is residents' lack of communication on interim certifications. We're playing catch up. What's the best practice? I would honestly say for interim certifications, maybe send out just a little flyer saying, hey, just want to remind all of our residents that we do need to have unit for 8/11 residents. To say, hey, just as a reminder, let us know if you've been or if you started working. I think just kind of get that communication out there. I don't want to say it might create a little bit of guilt, like, oh no, they know they're on to me. They know that I've started a job. I need to go in and report. But just have that communication ongoing with your residents, and what your expectations are, what's required of them for the 8/11 program. I think that's best practice. If you are pulling your reports, your not no income. What am I thinking of? Wow, it has been a while since I have done the quarterly reports. New hires report. I think that's what I'm thinking of. If you're pulling that at minimum quarterly, you're gonna see if your folks are working. Just remind them of that there is the enterprise income verification system that you do use, and you do pull that report quarterly. So either way, you're gonna find out one way or another they are working. So again, just going back, just communicate with your development, communicate with those residents and let them know what's going on. And then it's going to hurt them in the long run if they don't, because they're gonna have to go back and pay, and it can be quite a mess and costly for them as well. So hopefully that will help going forward for you guys. And then what else? No, Jonathan, don't be sorry for your questions. This is great. This is like, again, this is what we're here for. This is what we really wanted for all of this. What else? What else? Okay. So next one, can you outline the procedures for termination of tenancy due to repeated lease violations and damage to a unit? So kind of real quick, yes. So chapter 8 is a termination chapter, and I probably won't be able to get too much in detail with it, but it does, the first half of that chapter is going to talk about termination of assistance and what reasons there would be, like for failure to recertify. There's just a couple for termination of assistance. The second part of that, the next section, would be termination of tenancy, and that's going to go over material non-compliance, non-payment of rent, repeated lease violations. It's not necessarily going to detail what's considered a repeated lease violation. I hope that you guys have policies already in place of what would be a considered repeated lease violation that you would issue a notice to vacate for. Trying to think what else. Criminal drug activity, I think, is another big one that you would terminate tenancy for. So definitely review that chapter. And if you do get more questions with it, let me know. But that's the best resource in the 4350 that I can give you for termination of tenancy. Next one, is there any plans to allow us to utilize CMTS as a communication point opposed to the 8/11 system? So yes and no. So we do use the CMTS for on-site notification for an on-site review for 8/11, or just regular property communication that we need to have to the management company as well, and or to the owner. The reason we use the 8/11 portal, particularly for the 8/11 files, is because EIV documentation is uploaded, and we in the 8/11 division and the compliance division are the only two divisions that can review EIV documentation. No one else in our state agency can review that. And because CMTS is open to anyone within our agency, and to probably folks within your own agencies that have not signed that rules of behavior, that maybe not done the security awareness questionnaire. So that's why. So we will continue to use the 8/11 portal, and I'm sorry, I know we've got issues with the security certificate. Our IS division is still working on that. So if you have issues with that, there is a workaround, and that sounds awful, but it's secure. So please let us know if you get issues with that. But yes, we will continue to use the 8/11 portal for documentation and stuff for 8/11 for that. Yes, so Caitlin's showing there, yes, you can click that hide advance and proceed to 8/11. Again, I know it says unsafe, that sounds awful, but it is secure. It's just a security certificate issue, so you could still get in and log in. And if you have any issues beyond that, if that's not working for you, let us know. Contact the 8/11 info box, and we may shoot it over to Bill. He's kind of our troubleshooter when it comes to the 11 portal with that. Next one. So how many LVs does a resident receive before we can begin the non-renewal process? So I'm assuming lease violations, that's going to be up to your own policies and procedures. We don't have a standard for that. We just want to make sure that you're being consistent with those lease violations. And if, 4 or 5 for a particular issue is what you say is your cutoff for your notice to vacate, that's up to you. Just send us that notice to vacate 3 days before you need to issue it so that we can make sure it's compliant. Last one, I think, no, we said some. How do we know when A11 corrections are acceptable after an audit? So once you go through a monitoring review, particularly for A11, let's say you get a findings report, you have that 90-day corrective action period that starts when that letter is being issued. And then you should get a closeout letter once everything has been corrected, stating, hey, everything's done, no further action, you're good to go. So if you haven't received that, reach out to your monitor, the monitor that did the review, and ask, just making sure, just stay in communication with them if you've got more questions regarding that monitoring review. Then, okay, I know any corrections on the tax credit side, open on it. Yeah, so it's gonna, and my understanding, again, Amy, correct me if the process has changed, but they should send you one letter for 811 as well as tax credit. It's gonna detail all of your 811 issues of noncompliance as well as your tax credit ones. Those will be separate, but you still get the same 90-day corrective action period for both programs. Should, like I said, be able to answer. If you can't, I know they also have to reach out to them if you need an extension. So, and I know they've got that email address in there and their monitoring letter that goes out to you for that. Okay, yes, and Amy's saying yes, there is one monitoring letter and one corrective action letter, so that is correct. Awesome. Well, we have made it to 11:25. It has been awesome. I honestly have to admit, I thought maybe I wasn't going to have time, or I was going to have, we would have 30 extra minutes to need to kind of fill. But we cannot thank you enough for all of these questions. This has been awesome, and I hope everyone benefited well from this training. We do want to continue with these. There's tons of topics that can be discussed with 811. And again, want to keep it structured yet informal, because again, we want this communication with you guys. Going forward, the time and date will be on the invite. I will be honest, it's the first time I put it in through a mail merge and did not realize that would not auto-populate. So totally my fault. Apologize. It will be on there going forward. And please, please, please share with anybody and everybody that you have with your agency. I did get some questions on that. This isn't one of those where, and I was telling Caitlin this earlier, this isn't one of those where you all huddle in the conference room and you're listening to a conference machine and you're trying to hide that everyone's listening and it's not just the one person. So no, please share this. This can go to anybody. The more the merrier, the more we all get assistance with this and everybody on the same page is super beneficial. So again, any questions, please, please, please feel free to email us, email Caitlin. She's amazing at what she does. She left for 3 weeks for vacation this last year. And I was like, I cannot do her job. There's no way. So she is awesome with that. So anything, Caitlin, you want to add?
Yeah, just a few questions in the chat. We'll send out a link to YouTube. It takes a couple days. TDHCA is not known for their amazing technology and fast IT work, so it'll probably take a couple days for the video to get posted on the YouTube channel. So we'll send that out to you guys. But thank you guys again so much for coming. We really want to start having these more regularly. I know we're probably going to repeat a lot of information when we do it, but come with questions, send us questions ahead of time. And thank you so much. And thank you, Amy, so much as well for kind of helping us co-pilot this as well. But yeah, anything we didn't cover, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And the A11 info box is managed by both Catherine and I. So if you're not quite sure who to send your question to, send it to that email and one of us will respond from there.
And we will send out the agenda. Like I said, well, I'm kind of thinking maybe we'll do this not next week, but the week after that, we'll do another one. Again, we're trying to maybe coordinate with the Harris Center, some wonderful ladies that we work with there to join us and kind of just discuss, we'll talk about what they do as referral agents. And if not that, but we will definitely set other agenda and an invitation. And we also may ask for some topics that you guys would like to discuss, so that way we can make sure we're keeping keeping with what you guys have most questions about. So again, thank you, and we will see you next time. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
y'all. Bye.
Bye.